Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 11th February 2021, and in this video we'll be looking at this couple of issues. This article titled Disinformation is a Cybersecurity Threat. This is about how fake news has been a menace in our democracy and how it has been hampering our internal peace and security. In this context, it is also all the more important to address this as a cyber security threat as well. Let us look into this issue and understand a brief background about this issue before getting into the details of this article. If you think that fake news is a phenomenon only in the age of social media, you couldn't be more wrong. Fake news has existed since the dawn of the printing press, but only in the age of internet and social media, it is much more widespread because of the manipulation of algorithms of social media and search engines. Because of the search engines like Google, it is possible that this misinformation can spread at a much faster rate, and you can even witness the phenomenon of fake deeps or fake video clips, which is doing the menace right now. Fake video clips, news stories with morphed media logos, bots, paid commentators for favorable online reputation. All this became very common, and governments are using the threat of fake news to clamp down on free speech. So, there is a need to balance between the need to address this fake news and also at the same time address this as a cyber security issue also. But before that, you have to understand what is the significance. Why do people resort to creating this fake news? Why do various countries, various ideological believers uh, try to take the effort and pain of creating this fake news and spreading it? What is the incentive for them? Basically, whenever we want to build an opinion, whenever we want to create an ecosystem, we need certain believers and supporters. And in order to gain that support, there is a possibility that polarization can create this. And in the information ecosystem, certain nation state actors, say for example, Pakistan always try to create a rhetoric over its social media that India has been trying to instigate people against Pakistanis in the international media. Similarly, when we are talking about ideological believers, there might be a set of people who have this socialistic tendencies. Similarly, there might be people who will be having this right wing or pro capitalist tendencies. When they want to maintain their ideological standpoint, they want to create an ecosystem where they will have certain number of supporters. In order to do that, some people have taken this extreme step of creating a sense of a fear by polarizing based on their ideological beliefs or based on their own motives or own profits. So they create a social discord, increase polarization, and in some cases influence the outcome of elections also, as seen in the case of Cambridge Analytica. What happened recently during the exit of the ex-president of United States Donald Trump at the Capitol is a clear sign of what is happening because of this disinformation. Till now, whenever we talk about cybersecurity, we are only treating it as applications or purely a technological aspect of our governance. But today, with the kind of influence this disinformation has, even disinformation should be treated as a cybersecurity threat. Technically, it might be right, but cognitively, it is hacking our thought process. Because if you're continuously fed misinformation, people are not aware as to what is right and what is wrong, and their entire thinking is shaped by this cognitive hacking. So, cognitive hacking is a cyber security attack as well. The purpose of the attack is to change behavior, it has psychology behind it. So, this form of social engineering, although it may target a broad audience rather than specific individuals, it will entirely shape up the thinking of a community or society. So, how is this going to affect the society? What are the implications of this cognitive hacking? So, the most common tool used in cognitive hacking is creating a information piece or a message or a content that will effectively shape the perception of an individual. Say, if you continuously give information that, let us take in the example of the United States. So, the president of United States has created an image that immigrants are stealing the jobs of the locals. So this has helped his election campaign. This sort of propaganda will also have its spill over on advertising in social engineering, and it will entirely impact the society as such, because today cybersecurity is not just an aspect of computers itself but also about individuals. It will have bearing on the entire society. The most important threat now for cybersecurity professionals is identifying deep fakes. What we know today as deep fakes is a phenomenon where uh, fake videos, which almost seem like original videos, will be used by these actors, and gullible people will have no idea whatsoever whether such videos are true or false. That is the biggest challenge that is being faced by this cybersecurity professionals, and they call for stricter penal provisions. So that is the gist of this article. So how to avoid this is the major question. In order to avoid this, the awareness is the most critical component in a society. Every stakeholder involved should stop this threat of deep fakes and stop it at the roots itself, because the biggest antidote for this misinformation is citizens taking up the responsibility by being aware of the damage that it can cause to information in the longer run. There will be a complete mistrust in the society, which should be avoided at every possible call. So for this, there is certain initiative in the form of Paris call for trust and security, and similarly, before last year there was a hatred attack on Muslims in New Zealand, and after that a Christchurch call of action was called for by New Zealand along with certain other nations to avoid that kind of incidents. So that is the way forward according to the article writer. This article, The Move to Privatize Banks, is about how banking capitalization is not solving the problems and there is a need to privatize certain banks. But before that, we have to understand why private banks were nationalized in 1969. Banking is very important for inclusive growth. Now, there were a set of banks which were reluctant to open up branches in rural areas, and therefore banking was considered to be an important strategic factor which decides the future of inclusive growth, and therefore in 1969 the government has opted for nationalization. But after that, when you have private banks opening up even in remote areas with the help of digitization, and they have incentives in opening up in rural areas, now it is considered that nationalized banks are no longer required. So the government is trying to reverse that move. That is the overall funda. If you take a look at the budget allocations in the past few years, there is a moral hazard. Banks are not having any accountability, and therefore, as much as 2 lakh crores was pumped in as recapitalization, and all this money is public money. So, if there is no accountability on the part of these banks, why should the government support them? So rather they want to privatize this is the overall logic. So will we be seeing more and more number of private banks in the future? The answer is yes. So this is the overall funda behind this article. There is no need to get into the technical details as we've already discussed them many times, and we'll be discussing them over the course of time in the future as well. So I am restricting the discussion about this topic to this point, and in the future we'll be discussing the finer details along with the history, like say for example the Bimal Jalan committee, the Narsimhan committee, the PJ Nayak committee, which recommended this privatization.